So this is a video on taking the oil pan off or oil sump off the Triumph Stag while the engine is in situ. This is my left-hand drive Stag, the yellow one, and this engine is an ESS engine that was fitted. Actually, I got this from another car, but this engine's been fitted here. I'm running on low oil pressure, and people have suggested the oil pump, but I have a manual oil gauge and it seems to be functioning. The behavior of the gauge seems to be functioning fine, and I'm suspecting maybe the engine had the car that this, yeah, I don't know, to be honest, what's going on, but since I'm having low oil pressure, a couple of folks I spoke to said as a solution, cheap solution, is change some of the bearings in the engine while it's in situ. That can save stripping the engine later on. So since I have two Stags, and I drive them very less in general, and so I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to just change maybe the main bearings and hope I can get some pressure. Give me by a few years to figure out what to do, and we'll go from there. Now the ROM, I read the ROM on how to take the oil pan off, and you really do want to, I like to cut corners and say, do I really need to do all that? But let me tell you what I had to do, the bare minimum at least, to get the pan off. Now this is a manual with overdrive, doesn't really matter, but it has those clamps on the transmission. I did have to remove one of them, and as you can see, so let's start from the beginning. I think the book says disconnect the downpipe for the exhaust pipe, and the reason why you have to do that is because you will need to lower the cross member, but with the exhaust pipe in place there's only about maybe half an inch movement in the downward direction, so that comes out. So that's the reason why that has to come off, as you can see. And again, this is a left-hand drive. Then you need to undo the cross member. I had a tough time getting one of the bolts, putting a spanner on one of the bolts on the inner frame, because the steering rack is in the way, so that was a painful job to do. The other thing the book says is undo these bolts from the wishbone, and you wonder why, and the reason is that you actually, when you lower the cross member has to come forward maybe half an inch, because if you notice here, the oil sump sits inside that little groove, and you've got to slide it forward about half an inch forward so you can at least lever it out. So it's very difficult with these still connected to do that. Now, since mine is a left-hand drive car, the rack is still connected, and it's still awkward to actually move this side forward, but I was able to disconnect the you might say the right hand side, and the rack, by the way, is still connected. Maybe a recommendation is disconnect the rack as well, but again, I'm trying to cut corners here. So the rack is still connected to the car. The book doesn't say anything about the rack, I don't remember, but anyway, the cross member has come down quite a bit, and it has moved forward enough for me to wiggle the sump out. Another thing, maybe a good recommendation, is the oil dipstick is still in there. It might be a good recommendation to pull it out when you decide to take it off. So yeah, the book, just do what the ROM says, don't cut corners, and these are some of the reasons why you got to do all these things to get the oil pan off the car. And as I said, I'm going to take the end bearings off just to see if there's anything I can sort of try and get some mileage out of this car for a few more years.